Hey guys, it's Kimberlyn. Welcome back to my channel. For this video, I'm going to be showing you guys all of the books that I read in February and in March. There are 9 books total, and there's 2 books that I did DNF. I decided to combine February and March because March was a very short reading month for me. I did not read as much as I normally do. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start off with our February reads, obviously. The first book that I read was Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. This follows Cade and Willa. Cade is one of the Eaton boys. Willa is Summer from the first book, her best friend. This is a single dad and nanny trope. Cade has a son named Luke. Cade is looking for a nanny, and bada bing bada boom, you have the book where that's based off. Like, I have tabs in it. I really enjoyed this book. There's like a scene in here where Luke, the son, he starts getting really sick. Willa starts taking care of her and she starts questioning her capability of being a nanny. Cade was kind of just talking her through it, that she's capable and that she is doing so great and everything, and I really liked that part. And then the part after Willa got sick, then Cade started taking care of her. It was very adorable and fun, and a lot of people do talk about how this is their favorite in the Chestnut Spring series, which rightfully so. I rated this book a 4.5. The only reason why it wasn't a 5-star is because they mentioned so often how they have an age gap. Cade always was talking about it and made it a reason not to be with her, which I get, but like, you can tell how so in love he is with her that shouldn't even be a problem. Like, I get the age gap is a little much, but I think it's like 13 years, yeah, but I still really enjoyed it, and I kind of saw past the age gap. Like, I kind of forgot about it. I would remember it because he mentioned it so often. Elsie Silver's writing reminds me of Lauren Asher, and you guys know Lauren Asher is my favorite, and he has a nickname for her. And I love when books, the main male character has a nickname only he calls her. He calls her Red because her hair is red. I think it was just so cute and one of my favorite books. Next, I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I love Ravi and Pip, even though I know this is not a romance type book. They are so cute and I just love their dynamic. I read this pretty fast because I was like really excited to see what was gonna happen. And then towards the end, it just fell so flat. It was a very weak ending in my opinion. I just didn't enjoy it. I rated this a 3-star. I had fun at the beginning, but it just fell flat for me, and I was just like, wow, they really trust an 18-year-old to solve this crime. Like, they trust her so hard. I had so much fun reading the beginning and like finding it, and then once like the whole plot twist happened and like the discovery of everything, I was just like, really? What is this? You know what I mean? But I am excited to read the third book, the last book in the series, so stay tuned for that. Next is If Only I Had Told Her by Laura Nowlin. This is the second book to If I Had, what is it called? This is the second book to If He Had Been With Me. The first one I read last summer and I was so excited for this book to come out. I remember that it was supposed to come out in 2023, but she pushed it to come out in February because she needed more time to write on it, and let's just say she could have taken a lot longer. She should have kept like revising this. I read this book in one sitting. This is actually, I think, the first book that I've ever read in one sitting, and I'm so disappointed by it. I rated this a 2-star. Honestly, it could be like a 1.5, maybe even a 1-star. It felt like a really long epilogue. The first book is only Autumn's point of view, the main female character, and everybody was excited for this book because it was marketed to be as Finn's point of view, and which it is, but we also get other point of views. I thought that we were gonna get more of the same point of view of the timeline, the same timeline as the first book, but it really just wasn't. Didn't feel as satisfying to read after that whole hype of this book coming out. Felt very unnecessary to read, but I went through the book so fast. But I was just so disappointed by it. I think that if you read the first book and you want to read the second book, go ahead, but I just don't think that it is worth it, in my opinion. Then I picked up reading Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. I ended up DNFing this book, probably a soft DNF. Maybe I'll get around to it eventually in the future. I think reading these back to back, both YA books, were just not what I should have done. This was very social media, TikTok, Instagram reference, pop culture reference. Sometimes when that's mentioned in books, I can skim past it, but this was mentioned so often that I was just very unhappy with it. I think before reading it, I was listening to some other people's reviews about the book on like booktube and book talk, and it kind of made me have a negative perception of the book, so I went into it expecting not to like it. I just did not give it a fair chance, so I think I want to spread some time apart from the book and then get into it again. This was my DNF for February. The next book, oh my lord, I started reading this book end of January and then I finished it middle of February, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie Laroo by V.E. Schwab. This has never ever been on my radar to read. I saw Sarah Crowley talk about it. I finally like read into what the book is and I was like, oh, this sounds like one of my favorite movies of all time, The Age of Adeline. That made me really want to read this book. Okay, so this follows a girl named Addie. It takes place in France, 1714. It's just not happy with her life there, with her family, and she makes a wish and she ends up being invisible basically. After every interaction that she has with somebody, they'll forget about her right after, and then she's basically living forever. And then 300 years later, somebody actually remembers who she is. This book, if you want to get into it, you have to know before reading it that it's gonna take you a little bit. It's very detailed, very slow. Go into that knowing this, because I didn't know that. The detail in here, look at that. It is just insane. And for me, I'm a skim reader. I don't need that much detail. I can understand the plot of the book without that much detail, but this is so beautifully written. The detail is so good. I really appreciated it. It was very poetic and lyrical. It just kind of made the reading process way more slow, but I did rate this a 3-star just because it did take me longer and it kind of was losing me because of that. But the premise of it and the plot was just really good, and I really did enjoy all the aspects of it. So there was that. Very happy that I read it too and pushed myself to get through it. I also listened to it on the audiobook. What's next? Okay, I did a video with my friend Caitlin. If you guys haven't watched that video, go watch it. We swapped each other's 5-star reads. One of the books that I read was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is like an iconic book talk, booktube book, and I finally got into it. I never thought that I would read any of her books because I was like, oh, STEM. I'm not a woman in STEM, but also just never was drawn towards her books, but everybody loves her writing, so I was like, you know what, let's give it a go. I did not know that this was fake dating. I have a bit issue with fake dating. It's not my favorite trope. Olive is a 3rd-year PhD candidate. She's been struggling with the romance world. She needed to convince her best friend that she was dating this guy, and she kisses the first guy that she sees. The first guy that Olive kisses is Adam, and Adam is a professor, so they end up working out a fake dating arrangement. Obviously they end up falling for each other. I rated this book a 4-star for the vibes. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember too much that went down with this book, so it's more of like a 3-star, 3.5. I'll come up with a final rating when I'm editing this video. I enjoyed her writing a lot. It's just hard to rate a fake dating book when I don't have that good of a bond with that trope, but nonetheless I still enjoyed some aspects of it. And then the last book for February I listened to on audiobook, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And I know that's a very iconic classic book, and I did watch the movie, but this was part of the swapping 5-star reads video. I did listen to that on audiobook. I rated that like a 3-star. It was very just in the middle for me. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, have not thought about it though, just wasn't really connected to it because it was mainly in relation to high school, and I'm not in high school. Very, very good coming of age book and film. These were all the books that I read in February. Now let's get started with all the books that I read in March. Okay. First book that I finished in March, I actually started reading at the beginning of February, didn't end up finishing it until the beginning of March, and that is just because I was reading The Love Hypothesis and Perks of Being a Wallflower and doing that video for that. The first book that I ended up finishing in March was Busher and Blackbird by Brian Weaver. I don't know how to, yeah. I didn't like this book, and I think that is very reasonable because the book is what it is. It is a dark romance comedy. I've dipped my toes into dark romance books before, but they were very light. I thought I was gonna like this, but the trigger warnings were 2 pages long. I thought I was gonna enjoy this because Mindfuck series follows a serial killer and an FBI agent. This follows 2 serial killers who, should I be saying that word on the internet? This follows 2 bad people who kill other, oh my gosh, these follow 2 bad people who unalive other bad people. Friends to lovers. I'm trying to remember what the book is about. I rated this a 2-star. It just wasn't my favorite, and it was like losing me, and the smut in here was just, oh my god. I don't think I can handle smut anymore. Like, I just need 1 chapter of smut and I'm good. Books like this type of romance, perfect smut. This, absolute, like, what is this? Might as well just put a picture. Like, I think they kind of compete to see who can unalive the targeted bad person first and play like a game with that, and then they end up like falling for each other. I don't really know what kind of went down with this. Next, I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I was very nervous about reading an Abby Jimenez book because I read Part of Your World by her last year and I didn't really enjoy it because I didn't like the main female character. I heard so many good things about this book. A lot of talk of anxiety goes on in this book with the main male character. What is going on with the lighting? And I do deal with anxiety, so I was very excited to jump into this book. I'm very glad that I did. I really enjoyed it. It did take me a little bit to read because in March I was reading a bit slower than I normally do. I rated this a 4-star. Very much had 5-star potential, but it kind of was losing me towards the end of the book and I kind of was detaching myself with it. Seeing the way that he talked about his anxiety is so relatable. This also was fake dating and I wasn't expecting that because I went into this kind of blind and I knew that there was going to be like letters back and forth is what like I heard from social media and everything, that they write letters to each other, and it was so cute and just like the buildup of the relationship I really did enjoy. What didn't make it a 5-star, that they both were talking about their exes a lot in the book, even though it was fake dating and that was like kind of the point, talking about their ex so much even though they both knew that they belong with each other, like the two main characters. That just kind of gets a little old and repetitive, but I really did enjoy it. This book also is the second book to Part of Your World. It is a interconnected standalone. The main female character in Part of Your World is best friends with the main female character in this book, but I don't think I'm gonna read any of her other backlist books. I kind of just want to move forward with Abby Jimenez, and I know she's coming out with a new book in April, Just for the Summer I think it's called, and I think that's also fake dating. So my DNF for March is also a soft DNF, All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I think I'm just kind of checked out of the Natural series. I really enjoyed the first book. The second book I only really enjoyed because I listened to it on audiobook, and I did that for like a 24-hour reading challenge, so I was like locked in. But this one I kind of have been checked out. Kind of am just over the series, even though this is very fast paced and it has a very Criminal Minds YA aspect to it. I'm gonna have to soft DNF this because I know that if I was going to continue it at the rate that I was reading it at, I was going to be completely lost the whole entire book and probably would have rated it like a 2-star. Maybe in the future when I'm in the mood to read this, I will restart it. DNF'd at page 108, probably more because I was also listening to it on audios. There's my DNF for March. The next book that I read in March was Powerless by Elsie Silver, the third book in the Chestnut Spring series. I wasn't too excited to get into this, so this one is childhood friends to lovers. I thought that this was my favorite trope, but I don't think it is. Like, I think it's just meh to me. This follows Jasper and Sloane. Jasper has always been very close with the Eaton boys. They're basically like family, but Jasper and the Eaton boys are not related, and I think Sloane is actually related to them and they're cousins. It starts off with Sloane getting married to this really toxic, crazy guy. It was an arranged marriage. She ends up finding him cheating on her like the day of the wedding. Jasper kind of helps her escape from the wedding. They kind of go from there. They spend more time alone together. He's also not a cowboy, he's a hockey player and she's a ballerina. I wasn't as connected or attached to the characters as I was in the second book. I kind of feel the same feelings how I felt with the first book, Flawless. I was just kind of in the middle, didn't really care too much about them. It was good for what it is. So I rated this a 3. Sorry, the lighting is, what is going on? So I'm giving this a 3-star because it's just very in the middle. Also, I think, okay, everything's clicking back to me now. It kind of jumps into the story, giving information that they have always liked each other since they were younger. I think that's kind of why I didn't connect with it that much, because I didn't see that build up and them talking a lot about how, oh, I've always liked him, I've always liked her, they've always been around, I've always felt this connection with them. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I kind of like that whole different trope where it is more strangers not knowing each other to lovers. That is some growth because I used to be obsessed with friends to lovers type books, but I kind of like reading about the build-up with them. I don't care if you were friends first. I don't. It makes it less fun to read about. I like seeing you guys meet and then be friends and then realizing you like each other and then fall in love and then have babies and everything. So that's kind of why I wasn't feeling that connected to it. 3-star. The last book I'm actually still reading. I'm 85% with it, so I'm gonna finish it today. When I'm filming this, it's the last day of March, so I got time to finish this. And that is Finley. Donovan is killing it. This follows Finley. She is a single mom of 2. She is a suspense novel author. She was working on her next book. She was talking to her agent about it at this cafe. When they were talking about it to each other, it didn't sound like they were talking about a book. If you were to overhear the conversation, it would sound like they were plotting to unalive somebody. And that's exactly what happened. Somebody overheard, and it sounded to her that that's what Finley does for a living, is unaliving people. The lady that overheard left Finley a note saying, hey, can you unalive my husband? It's very fast paced and I really like it. I'll put my rating on the screen once I finish the book. So she's like involved with this investigation that's going on now that she didn't even mean to be a part of, and just seeing all that unfold, I'm very excited. Those were all the books of March. Technically I finished 3 because I haven't finished Finley Donovan yet. So those were all the books that I read in February and March. I read some pretty good books, and I hate to say it, but I have not found a 5-star read yet, and it's April. Like, some of these are 5-star potential. Like Heartless, I think about it from time to time, but it's just not that 5-star. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below how many books you read in March, because I hope I'm not the only one that just had a slower reading month. So like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hopefully will see you guys in the next one. Bye!